The galaxy had always looked at Earth with mocking eyes. To them, Earth was nothing, a small blue planet circling an ordinary star. Humans were seen as fragile, weak, and unimportant. Alien rulers often joked, humans break easily. They are no threat to the galaxy. But the galaxy was about to learn how dangerous silence could be. That night, the people of Earth saw something they would never forget. The stars above suddenly began to vanish, one by one, as if a dark curtain was spreading across the sky. At first, humans thought it was an eclipse, or maybe dust clouds drifting in space. But soon the truth became clear. It was not nature. It was a fleet. Dozens, then hundreds, then thousands of massive ships appeared, covering the sky. They were not human ships. Their hulls glowed with alien metal, covered in symbols that no Earth scientist could read. They were shaped like daggers, long and sharp, built for only one purpose: war. The Galactic Empire had arrived. Their ships were so large that entire cities could fit inside them. Some were shaped like floating fortresses, others like giant blades. Together, they formed a shadow that stretched across the planet. For the first time in human history, the night sky was darker than the day. Every telescope, every satellite, every radar station on Earth confirmed the same truth. This was not a small fleet. This was not a warning patrol. This was an invasion. Panic spread across Earth's cities. People flooded the streets, pointing at the burning sky. Some prayed. Some screamed. Some simply stood frozen, unable to believe what they were seeing. Governments tried to calm the world, but their voices were drowned out by fear. Then it happened. A sound echoed across every device, every screen, every channel. Radios, televisions, phones, even satellites all went silent for one moment. Then a voice, deep and commanding, filled the air. It was the voice of the Empire's ruler. People of Earth, your world is surrounded. Your armies are nothing before us. Your weapons are toys compared to our fire. You have only one choice. Surrender your freedom. Kneel before the Empire. Or face extinction. The words struck like thunder. Children cried. Soldiers froze. Leaders stared at one another in silence. The Empire had not come for negotiation. They had come with an ultimatum: bow, or be destroyed. For a moment, the world stopped breathing. Inside command centers, generals whispered to each other. Some said surrender was the only way. Others argued that fighting was suicide. And yet, no one gave an answer. No message was sent back to the Empire. The people of Earth waited. The alien fleet waited. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. But beneath the fear, something else lived inside humanity. Something the Empire had forgotten. For thousands of years, humans had been underestimated. Empires rose and fell, but humans always survived. They had faced monsters on their own world: wars, plagues, disasters, and still they endured. Now, as the alien fleet hovered above them, that ancient fire began to burn again. On the surface, humans looked terrified. They looked broken. They looked weak. But deep in hidden bases, in secret stations buried beneath oceans and mountains, signals began to flash. Lights came alive. Doors opened that had been sealed for decades. The Empire believed they had trapped a defenseless world. But the truth was far darker. Earth had been waiting. And soon, the galaxy would remember why humanity was never to be cornered. The ultimatum was clear: surrender or die. But the humans, silent and still, were preparing a third answer. The ultimatum had been spoken. The Galactic Empire expected fear, chaos, and surrender. But Earth gave no reply. For hours, the alien fleet waited above the planet. Their ships floated like dark clouds, casting shadows across oceans and continents. Inside their command centers, alien generals expected desperate human voices to beg for mercy. They expected leaders to kneel, to cry, to offer Earth's resources in exchange for survival. But all they heard was silence. No broadcast. No message. No white flag. Earth had gone quiet. To the people of Earth, the silence felt like terror. Crowds gathered in streets, eyes fixed on the sky. Some shouted at their leaders, demanding answers. Others packed bags, running toward mountains or deserts, thinking they could escape the fire raining from above. Yet, the governments of Earth remained strangely still. Military bases locked down. Airports shut their gates. Power grids flickered, then went dark. Across the world, cities dimmed one by one. New York, London, Beijing, Moscow. Even smaller towns sank into shadow. It was as if humanity itself had pressed a single switch, pulling the planet into silence. The aliens misread it. From the Empire's flagship, the Emperor himself watched the world fade into darkness. His golden eyes narrowed. "Pathetic," he said. "They hide because they are afraid. They know they are beaten." The generals around him laughed. They saw no courage, no defiance. Only weakness. But one officer, older than the rest, did not laugh. He looked at the darkening planet with unease. His voice was low, almost a whisper. "They are not hiding, they are preparing." The room fell quiet for a moment, then burst into more laughter. The Emperor waved his hand dismissively. "Prepare with what? Sticks? Stones? Their armies are powerless. Their ships are toys. Their world will burn." Still, the old officer kept his eyes fixed on Earth. He had studied humans before. He remembered their history. And he knew the danger of silence. On the ground, ordinary humans felt the same silence differently. In a small village, an old man who had fought in past wars turned to his grandson. His voice shook as he said, "I have seen this before. The quiet before the storm." In hidden command bunkers beneath mountains, generals spoke in whispers. Screens lit up with maps, codes, and secret plans. A single phrase repeated again and again. "Do not answer them. Let them wait." The Empire grew restless. Their ships circled Earth like vultures, sending probes into the atmosphere, scanning for signals. They detected no resistance, no armies, no fleets rising to challenge them. The humans looked broken. But deep beneath oceans, hidden doors opened. In the deserts, camouflaged hangars rumbled. On the moon's far side, long silent machines powered on. Humanity's silence was not fear. It was a mask. The galaxy had seen humans scream in pain, fight with fury, and even die with courage. But very few had seen humans when they were silent. For silence meant only one thing: something was coming. In alien taverns across distant worlds, whispers began to spread. Traders who picked up fragments of the Empire's broadcast shivered when they realized Earth had not replied. "Why are they quiet?" one asked. Another, older and scarred, leaned forward with a grave face. "Because humans don't surrender. They wait. And when they strike, you never forget it." Back in orbit, the Emperor grew impatient. "Perhaps they are already broken," he said. "Perhaps fear has silenced them." But the old officer shook his head. "No, my lord. This is not fear. This is something worse. This is defiance." The Emperor's eyes burned with anger. "Then we will break their silence with fire." The order was given. The Empire's fleet began to charge their weapons. Massive cannons glowed like suns, ready to unleash destruction upon Earth. Alien soldiers cheered inside their warships, certain that victory was moments away. But far below, in the quiet darkness of Earth, human hands rested on controls, waiting. Their silence was not surrender. Their silence was a blade, sharp and hidden, waiting for the moment to strike. The Empire thought they understood weakness. They thought silence meant fear. They were wrong. Humanity's silence was not weakness. It was the warning before the storm. And soon, the galaxy would learn why silence from Earth was more terrifying than war cries from any other world. The Empire thought Earth's silence was weakness. But across the planet, in shadows and in whispers, something began to awaken. Old stories returned. Long ago, humans had faced wars that should have ended them. Empires on their own world had risen and fallen, yet humanity never disappeared. They had fought battles against enemies far stronger, far larger, and still, they survived. In dusty libraries, in the memories of soldiers, in the fading voices of the old, the past came alive. Grandfathers told children about wars where human cities burned, but their armies kept fighting. Old veterans remembered standing on frozen fields, hungry and cold, but never surrendering. Teachers spoke in whispers about battles where humans were outnumbered 10-1 and still, they did not break. And now, those stories spread like wildfire. In small towns, villagers gathered around fires, speaking of ancestors who fought against impossible odds. In secret bases, young soldiers listened to recordings of battles long gone. Even in crowded cities where fear filled the air, people repeated the same words again and again. We have been here before. And we endured. The Empire did not understand this. Aliens measured strength in numbers, in weapons, in technology. But humans measured strength in something else, memory. Every insult humanity had ever endured, every colony burned by alien hands, every family lost to foreign wars, none of it was forgotten. Humans carried their pain like weapons, and in silence, they sharpened it. In one hidden bunker, a young officer looked at her commander. Her voice was steady, but her eyes burned. "Sir, they think we are weak." The commander gave a slow nod. "Let them think it. That is their first mistake." The galaxy often mocked humans as fragile, but the truth was different. Humans were fragile, yes, but they were stubborn. They bent, but they did not break. They suffered, but they always rose again. This truth was written in history. It was whispered in blood. And now, the whispers grew louder. In the Galactic Council, far away from Earth, rulers of other worlds began to talk. News of the Ultimatum had spread. Some laughed, confident the Empire would crush humanity in a single strike. But others, the older and wiser ones, did not laugh. They remembered. One spoke quietly, his voice trembling. "Do you remember the siege of Drathos? A human unit held the line for 30 days against our fleets. 30 days, with no reinforcements. They should have fallen in one." Another nodded slowly. "And the Battle of Ryn. Humans lost half their armies in the first strike. The rest should have surrendered. But they fought until the last soldier." The council fell silent. Even far from Earth, the whispers of the past made rulers uneasy. Humans had been underestimated before. And every time, it ended in blood. Back on Earth, families sat in darkness. Children asked their parents, "Will the aliens kill us?" And parents, though their hearts trembled, answered with calm voices, "No. Because we will fight. We always fight." That single word, fight, spread across the world like a spark in dry grass. It carried the weight of history. It carried the weight of defiance. The Empire thought they had cornered a weak species. But the galaxy was beginning to remember the truth. Humans were not remembered for their strength. Not for their weapons. Not even for their intelligence. Humans were remembered for something else. They were remembered for refusing to die. And as the alien fleet tightened its grip around Earth, the whispers of the past grew into something more. Not fear. Not despair. But a promise. A promise that if the Empire struck, humanity would not kneel. They would rise. They would fight. And the galaxy would never forget the cost. Far from Earth, in the shining halls of the Galactic Empire, a great council gathered. The chamber was massive, built from crystal and steel, with walls so high that banners of 100 alien races hung like shadows. The rulers of the Empire sat in circles, their bodies glowing with strange colors, their voices echoing through the air. They were powerful. They commanded fleets, armies, and entire worlds. To them, Earth was nothing more than a forgotten planet. A world meant to be conquered in days. And yet, silence from Earth made them uneasy. The Emperor entered the chamber, his golden armor shining under the lights. His eyes burned with pride as he spoke. "Humans will kneel. They cannot resist us. Already, their planet trembles." Many of the council members laughed. Their voices carried across the hall. "Humans are weak," one shouted. "They are nothing but children with sticks," another mocked. "This war is already over." But not everyone laughed. At the far end of the chamber, an old alien general stood slowly. His scales were cracked, his face scarred from 100 battles. His voice was heavy, and when he spoke, the room grew still. "You speak of humans as weak," he said. "But weakness is not the word I would use. The Emperor's golden eyes narrowed. Then what word would you use, Old One? The general's gaze swept across the council. His voice was sharp now, cutting through the laughter. Dangerous. The hall fell silent. He stepped forward, his shadow stretching across the floor. I have fought them before. I have seen them stand when they should have fallen. I have seen them bleed and yet rise again. You think silence means fear? No. Silence is their weapon. They are preparing. Murmurs spread through the council. Some rulers shifted uncomfortably in their seats. One young commander scoffed. You give too much credit to these humans. They are fragile. They cannot stand against our fleets. The old general's voice rose, heavy with warning. Young fool. You speak of fleets, of weapons, of numbers. But humans fight with something else. They fight with memory. They fight with anger. And when you corner them, they fight like nothing else in this galaxy. The Emperor slammed his hand on the arm of his throne. Enough. They are insects before us. If they resist, we will crush them. But even the Emperor could not erase the chill that had settled in the hall. Another council member, her skin shimmering like glass, leaned forward. Her voice was quiet, almost trembling. Do you remember the War of Ryn? The room stilled again. That war had cost the galaxy dearly. Yes, the old general said. I remember. And I remember who held the line. The glass-skinned counselor nodded. Humans. A hush spread through the chamber. One by one, rulers remembered battles where humans had refused to break. They remembered stories of human soldiers fighting even when surrounded, even when outnumbered, even when all hope was lost. It was not strength that made them dangerous. It was something far worse. Defiance. The Emperor rose, his golden cloak flowing behind him. His voice thundered across the hall. Let them be defiant. Let them remember their past. We are the Empire. We will burn their history, their future, and their very name from the stars. The council cheered loudly, but their cheers were hollow. Behind their voices was a shadow of fear. For deep down, they all knew the truth. If humanity truly chose to fight, the galaxy would bleed. In the silence that followed, the old general whispered words that only a few heard. You do not defeat humans by scaring them. You only make them angry. And when they are angry, no empire can stand. Earth was silent on the surface. The cities were dark. The people were afraid. The alien fleet hung above like a storm waiting to fall. But beneath the silence, something else was moving. Far below the oceans, where light never touched, giant steel doors opened. Hidden for decades, they groaned as if the earth itself was waking up. From the shadows, machines rose. Submarines larger than cities. Warships that had never been seen before. Their hulls gleamed with human steel, built in secret, waiting for this day. In the deserts, beneath endless sand, hangars long disguised as empty wastelands came alive. The ground cracked open, and from it climbed towers of metal. Missiles rolled into position. Wings unfolded on black aircraft that no one outside Earth had ever seen. On the far side of the moon, where no alien eye could watch, a different secret stirred. Massive cannons, silent for years, powered on with a low hum. Lights flickered across their surfaces. Energy built inside them, glowing like the birth of stars. These were weapons built not for defense, but for survival. The Empire believed Earth was fragile. They thought humans spent their time fighting each other, wasting their strength in wars among themselves. And for centuries, that had been true. But the Empire never imagined what humans had been building while the galaxy mocked them. They had hidden their strength in shadows. In one underground command center, a young officer stared at the glowing screens. Are they ready? She asked. Her commander, an old man with silver hair and eyes hard as stone, gave a single nod. They've been ready for years. All we needed was a reason. And now, the reason floated above their skies. Across the planet, humanity's secret weapons rose. Satellites disguised as junk came alive with power. Old stations orbiting Earth, thought to be abandoned, suddenly moved. They were not ruins. They were traps. The people of Earth still sat in silence. But deep inside, they began to feel something else. Hope. In a small village, a boy looked up at the night sky and saw strange lights moving among the stars. "What are those, father?" he whispered. His father placed a hand on his shoulder and answered quietly, "Our guardians." Meanwhile, aboard the flagship of the Galactic Empire, alien officers laughed. Their sensors picked up faint signals, hidden movements. They dismissed them as useless human attempts to resist. "They build toys," one sneered. "It will not matter." But the old general, the one who feared humanity's silence, leaned closer to the screen. His voice was cold. "Those are not toys. Those are teeth." The Emperor ignored him. His pride blinded him. To him, Earth was already conquered. But far below, Earth's strength was rising like a tide. Factories hidden beneath mountains roared to life. Drones poured out by the thousands, black swarms of steel and fire. Submerged carriers released fleets of aircraft that vanished into the skies without a sound. Humanity had been underestimated for too long. This was not the first time. Long ago, invaders on Earth's own soil had thought humans weak. But humans had fought them back. Again and again, history showed the same truth. When pushed to the edge, humanity revealed its hidden strength. And this time, that strength had been waiting in silence. In the darkness of space, near an asteroid belt, a shape drifted quietly. At first, it looked like a dead rock. But when the Empire's scanners passed over it, lights flickered. The rock split open, revealing a massive warship unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was not sleek like the Empire's vessels. It was brutal, sharp, covered in weapons from bow to stern. Its engines burned alive, and with a low growl, it joined Earth's hidden fleet. One ship became 2. 2 became 10. 10 became 100. All across the system, hidden shadows revealed themselves. Earth had never been defenseless. Earth had been waiting. The people of Earth still feared the Empire's power. They knew the battle ahead would be terrible. But when they looked into the sky now, they saw something different. Not just alien ships. Not just death. They saw the rising strength of their own world. The ultimatum still echoed in their minds, surrender or die. But now, a new answer burned in their hearts. Fight. And as Earth's hidden weapons aimed toward the stars, the galaxy itself began to tremble. The sky above Earth was no longer calm. The Galactic Empire's fleet floated like a wall of steel and fire, their weapons glowing, ready to burn the planet into ash. Soldiers inside those warships cheered as their commanders gave the order, "Prepare to fire." The people of Earth held their breath. Some prayed. Some cried. And some simply stared at the heavens, waiting for death to fall from the stars. Then the Empire made their move. A single shot fired first, a beam of light brighter than the sun. It cut through Earth's upper atmosphere, tearing across the sky. The ground shook as it struck an uninhabited mountain range, turning stone into fire. The message was clear. Obey, or perish. But before the second strike could begin, something happened that the galaxy would never forget. Earth answered. From the depths of the oceans, missiles rose like arrows. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. They broke through the waves and climbed into the sky, trails of fire following behind. From the deserts, hidden launch pads cracked open, and swarms of drones lifted into the air. Small, fast, and deadly, they spread across the skies like a storm of metal birds. In orbit, satellites once thought to be dead came alive, flashing with power. They fired beams of energy that ripped through space like lightning. The Empire was caught off guard. Their scanners screamed warnings, their shields flared, but it was too late. The first human strike landed. Missiles slammed into alien ships, tearing holes in their armor. Drones swarmed across their hulls, exploding in flashes of light. A fortress ship the size of a city shuddered, its engines blazing before it broke apart in silence. For the first time in centuries, the Empire lost ships to a planet they had considered weak. Inside their flagship, chaos erupted. Shields failing, one officer shouted. They destroyed a cruiser, another screamed. The Emperor's golden eyes widened in fury. Impossible. They cannot fight us. But they were fighting. On Earth, command centers filled with cheers as the first reports came in. Direct hits. Enemy ships destroyed. Voices shook with both fear and triumph. For the first time, humanity saw that the Empire could bleed. In the streets, people who had once been frozen in terror now lifted their heads. They looked up at the flashes of fire in the sky and whispered the same words. "We are fighting back." The Empire answered with fury. Their ships unleashed waves of firepower, burning through the atmosphere. Cities shook. The ground split. Entire forests went up in flames. But humans did not stop. From the far side of the moon, hidden cannons fired beams of pure energy. They cut through the Empire's shields like knives through glass. A destroyer-class warship exploded in a brilliant flash, scattering debris across the void. Alien soldiers who once mocked humans now stared in horror at their screens. How do they have this?" one whispered. The old general aboard the flagship closed his eyes. His words were heavy, filled with dread. "I warned you. This is not weakness. This is survival." The Emperor roared in anger. "Destroy them all." But the humans were relentless. Pilots in hidden fighter craft launched into orbit, their voices calm despite the chaos. They knew many would not return, but none hesitated. Their ships darted between enemy fire, striking at weak points, sacrificing themselves to take down vessels 10 times their size. Every human strike was desperate. Every blow was reckless. But together, they worked. Another alien cruiser fell. Then another. In the darkness of space, one truth became clear to the Empire. This would not be an easy victory. The first strike had begun, and Earth had drawn blood. The ultimatum given to humanity had been simple: surrender or die. But humanity had chosen a third path: fight. And as explosions lit the skies, the galaxy realized something terrifying. The war had only just begun. The sky above Earth was fire. Human missiles and drones filled the heavens. Alien warships, once thought unstoppable, burned like falling stars. Explosions lit the night, turning darkness into daylight again and again. But the battle was far from victory. For every alien cruiser destroyed, 5 more pressed forward. For every fortress ship torn apart, the Empire sent another wave of fire. Their weapons scorched the atmosphere, boiling oceans, melting stone, shaking cities. Earth trembled under the weight of the Empire. And yet, humanity did not stop. Pilots launched from hidden bases, their fighters small and fragile compared to the alien giants. But their courage made them unstoppable. They darted between beams of energy, targeting weak points, sacrificing themselves if it meant destroying just one more ship. One pilot, his craft on fire, whispered into his comm, "For Earth." He rammed his fighter into the heart of a battleship. The explosion shattered the alien vessel, leaving nothing but silence. In bunkers deep underground, commanders watched the screens. Red markers, lost human ships, spread across the displays. But so did green ones, destroyed alien warships. A young officer's hands shook as she reported, "Sir, we're losing pilots fast." The commander's voice was cold, but his eyes burned with pride. "Then we will lose them fighting. Every second we hold, Earth lives." The streets of cities shook as alien weapons rained fire, but the people did not break. Civilians dug into shelters, doctors worked by candlelight, and children huddled close to their parents. They were afraid, but they were not defeated. For outside, in the burning skies, their soldiers were buying them time with blood. On the far side of the moon, the giant cannons fired again. One fortress ship of the Empire broke apart, its debris raining across the void. The galaxy had never seen such defiance from a single world. Still, the Empire pushed forward. Inside their flagship, the Emperor raged. His golden cloak burned from sparks, his throne shaking as alarms screamed. Why do they resist? Why do they not kneel? The old general, silent until now, looked him in the eye. His voice was low, but it carried the weight of truth. Because humans do not kneel. They fight until there is nothing left. That is their nature. The Emperor's face twisted in fury. Then let them die. His fleet surged, weapons blazing brighter than suns. Entire valleys cracked under the blasts. Oceans boiled. Skies split apart. But the humans kept coming. Submarines hidden deep in the seas launched their final payloads. Swarms of drones, nearly destroyed, still fought tooth and claw. Fighters on their last drops of fuel turned their ships into weapons, slamming into enemy hulls. It was chaos. It was madness. It was humanity's last stand. And in that chaos, something changed. Alien soldiers aboard their ships, watching human fighters burn and fall, began to feel something they had never felt before. Fear. These humans, fragile and small, should have broken long ago. But they did not. They kept fighting, even when hope was gone. Even when victory was impossible. One alien whispered, "They are monsters." Another answered, "No. They are worse. They are human." The battle stretched into hours. Earth bled. The Empire bled. The skies became graveyards of burning ships and falling wreckage. At last, the humans knew the truth. They could not win this battle. Their weapons were mighty, but the Empire's fleets were endless. Still, they refused to surrender. One final command spread across every human channel. "Fight until the last breath. Let the galaxy remember us." And they did. Every soldier. Every pilot. Every ship. They fought until their engines failed, until their guns went silent, until only wreckage remained. It was not victory. It was not defeat. It was something else. A warning. For in that last stand, the galaxy saw the truth of humanity, fragile, stubborn, unbreakable. And though the skies of Earth burned, the Empire would never forget the day they tried to break humanity and discovered the cost. The great battle was over, but Earth was gone. Cities had turned into ash, skies were dark with smoke, and the oceans boiled with poison. What once was a living, blue world now looked like a graveyard floating in space. The Galactic Empire had won, or so they thought. On their massive flagship, the Emperor stood tall, his golden armor glowing in the firelight of Earth's ruins. He raised his hand to the galaxy and declared, "Let this be a lesson to all. The humans are no more. Resistance is death." The Empire broadcasted this message across every star system. Billions of alien citizens watched in silence. Some cheered, others bowed, but many felt something strange, fear. Because what they saw was not weakness. They saw humanity's last stand. Across the galaxy, whispers began. In marketplaces, in military halls, in the dark corners of alien cities, voices trembled. "Did you see them? Did you see how they fought? They were already defeated, but they kept fighting. Not even extinction made them kneel." The story spread like wildfire. Soldiers who once mocked humans now spoke their names with respect. Civilians who feared the Empire now dreamed of resistance. And rulers of smaller empires began to think dangerous thoughts. If humans could fight the great empire, why can't we? The Emperor heard these whispers and grew furious. Silence them. Destroy their hope. But the truth could not be silenced. The more the Empire tried, the louder the memory of Earth grew. On distant planets, alien children played human wars, pretending to be human pilots diving into enemy ships. They shouted with pride. For Earth. Alien generals replayed battle recordings in secret, studying human tactics. They discovered something terrifying. Humans were not stronger, not faster, not more advanced. And yet, they fought as if every battle was personal. A single human fighter destroyed ships 20 times its size. A single human soldier held the line against entire alien armies. It was not technology. It was willpower. And that was something no empire could ever conquer. Months later, strange reports reached the Empire. A mining colony refused to pay tribute. They shouted, "We remember Earth," before attacking the guards. A rebel fleet painted human symbols on their ships, screaming, "We fight like humans." Even in the Emperor's throne world, walls were covered with secret words written in the night. Humanity lives forever. The Empire had burned Earth to ash. But in doing so, they had created a legend. And then, the galaxy received a signal. It was weak, broken, almost lost in static. But when translated, the message froze everyone who heard it. "This is Earth Command, survivors remain." The galaxy gasped. Could it be true? Could humans still live? The Empire dismissed it as lies. They claimed it was rebel propaganda. But deep inside, they feared the truth. Because if even a few humans survived, it meant the nightmare was not over. For humanity had shown the galaxy something unforgettable. Even in death, they fight. Even in silence, they rise. Even in extinction, they remain unbroken. Years later, long after Earth's destruction, alien historians would gather in secret. They would speak of the night the stars burned. They would speak of the humans who stood against an empire. And they would give that moment a name. Earth's Last Stand. Not as a tale of defeat, but as the birth of rebellion. Because after Earth fell, the galaxy never bowed so easily again. And every time a soldier picked up a weapon, every time a fleet prepared for battle, one phrase was whispered in every tongue, across every world.